Today, we are going to talk about our topic for discussion is nonverbal communication. That is our topic, nonverbal communication or types of communications. And well before going to nonverbal communication, first let us try to understand what is communication. Especially, it is very important for us to understand. Actually, the term communication has been derived from the Latin term communicare, in which means sharing. So it is a sharing of ideas, thoughts, emotions. Okay, that's why it is called communication. Maybe it is between one person and one the other, between groups, between people, between various other things. That's why communication on the whole is sharing. So it could be anything: sharing ideas, sharing emotions, sharing thoughts, and all. And actually speaking, communication, the term communication is very easy to understand and very, very difficult to define because of the multifarious interpretations involved in this. And that's why we have to actually look at the purpose of the communication rather than trying to understand the definition of a communication. Okay. And if you just look at the purpose of a communication, uh, it is basically for the transmission of message, transmission of ideas, maybe from one person to the other. And it's an ability from one person to make contact with the other person. So how successfully a person is able to communicate with the other is very important at the end of the day. So when communication is an ability, how able one is in communicating one's ideas is very important. And that's why we say that it's a technology, we can say, the mechanism through which all human relations exist. See how effective you are in your communication, how expressive you are in your words depends, is very important for you at the end of the day. And that's how you'll be able to have your public relations. If you are a successful communicator, you'll be able to have many relations or relations with many people. For example, let us take a leader. A leader is able to communicate with so many at a time. That's why he could become a leader. A leader with one stroke of his pen, with one share of his idea, he is able to spread himself to thousands and lakhs at a time, because he has that ability to express his ideas in a very lucid, in a very, very clear terms. That's why he is, I can say, an able communicator. So what we have to understand is, actually, in communication, if you just look at the communication, communication is, I can say, as old as human race, human origin. And in the early days especially, non-verbal communication was there. If you just look at early man, there was, lot of non-verbal communication through postures, gestures, movement of hands, facial expressions, nodding head, making movements, and all that used to be eye contact, used to be the mode of communication for them. But as the society evolved, man has become a social animal. Man could really civilize himself, refine himself. Thereby, this civilization has helped him to express his ideas in a more sophisticated way, in a wonderful technological way. He is able to tap even the technological resources today to express his ideas through telephone, telegram, internet, phone, mobile phone, and various other modes he is able to see. If you just look at the social media today, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have so many WhatsApp, you have so many other. These are all the resources. These are all, I can say the modes of transmission of ideas. You may use WhatsApp, I may use Twitter, somebody may use some other mode. Whichever he is comfortable with, he'll be choosing one mode for the communication purpose only. So after all, the purpose is only communication. So that's why we can just say that it is very important that the communication is you can understand the role of the communication in effectively sharing one's ideas to others. And now let us look at types of communications. If you just look at types of communication, you have different types of communications, I can say. You can say intrapersonal communication. What exactly you mean by intrapersonal communication? Intrapersonal communication means, man actually holds an inward talk with himself. Before you are going to communicate with others, or before you are delivering a lecture, before you are attending an interview, before you are going to give a seminar or any other event that you are going to participate, we will have a mock, we will have a drill, we will have a rehearsal well before that, in which what do? You will really talk to yourself. So man very often talks to himself. Of course, if you try to talk to yourself in a mob or in a group, you will be branded as a insane kind of person. But whereas very often man actually talks to himself. That's why I just want to quote a wonderful quotation of Swami Vivekananda, who said that if you do not talk to yourself at least once in a day, that you will miss a wonderful person in you. Because only when you talk to yourself, you'll be able to retrospect, you'll be able to introspect what's happening, you'll be able to understand what is wrong with you, what is right with you, how you can check yourself, how you can correct yourself. And that's why intrapersonal communication within person, within himself, is called intrapersonal. And the second type of communication is called interpersonal. Intra is within himself, interpersonal. Interpersonal, you can say that between one person and the other, between one group and the other, that's how we say that. Especially, you can just see here family members, colleagues, different social gatherings, situations, neighbors, groups, various other classmates, colleagues, between teacher and student. These are all called interpersonal, between person and person, which is very common in the society. So a teacher communicates with the student, and a student tries to communicate with the teacher as well. So this is a common phenomenon. Similarly, how effectively you are able to communicate is very important in interpersonal communication. When you can use beautiful vocabulary, and you can express good thoughts, then only you can reach your listener. Okay, so this is called interpersonal communication. The third type is known as group communication. What do you mean by group communication? In a group communication, you can say it is nothing but an extension of interpersonal communication skills only, because there in the interpersonal communication skills between one person and the other, here in group communication between one person and the group, maybe a teacher and the number of the class, okay, a political leader and his audience, a group. So like that, you can have many things. Just like, for example, you can understand here clubs, circles, okay, and all that. you can just see in group discussion. In groups are especially formed because the uh, number of people will be there. Okay, thereby with a successful person, a successful communicator is able to reach himself, through a powerful medium of expression, I can say, in which he will be adopting techniques of using good vocabulary. He knows the psychology, he knows the pulse of that group, he knows the pulse of that mob. Thereby he knows what kind of words he should use, what kind of slang he should use, what kind of words he should use, what kind of grammar he should use. He'll be very selective and he'll be very careful. Thereby he'll be able to reach those audience very easily. And the last one I can say is mass media, I can say. In mass media or in public communication, especially if you just see in mass media, the size of the group is larger than the group. See, first interpersonal, person and person. In the group, person and the group. Now here in mass media, say for example, newspaper. A newspaper is able to reach some lakhs of audience. So that's why the kind of language that you use and the information that you are giving and the ideas that you are giving are very important. So that's why you should take care to see that the way you communicate in through mass media is very important. Like you can say television, radio, internet, newspapers, all these come under, I can say, mass media. So in mass media, this is a powerful mode of communication, I can say, than any other. Because in mass media, especially if you just look at the journalism, newspapers, television, it's able to reach some lakhs of people at a time. Okay, so that's about what communication is all about, the purpose of the communication, and different types of communication we have. Now we are going to talk about in the communication. Okay, those are different types like intrapersonal, interpersonal, group communications and mass media or public communication and all that. But now, especially in the communication, see, usually what we think is that, what is a language? When somebody is asked to say language is a vehicle of thought, or it's a mode of expression, or a kind of expressing ideas and all that. But especially in communication, there are two different types that we are able to see. What are those two types? Is communication is verbal and non-verbal also. Very often we think that only when good vocabulary, good grammar, good sentences, idiomatic expressions, a lot of reading and a lot of exposure to the language, and then only you are able to express effectively, you are able to speak effectively. That may not be correct, because very often what happens is we are able to see the role of non-verbal communication more and more than the verbal communication. You will be shocked to see, actually, when you look at the, just a second, I will just show you. Yeah. So if you just see, you'll be able to understand, especially, yeah. In the non-verbal communication, if you just see that statistics, how much do you express? See, in non-verbal communication, let me say, it is how much do you express through words, and how much do you express through different modes like non-verbal communication. Let us just see that. Yeah. If you just look at the nonverbal communication, 93% of all communication is nonverbal only. You'll be shocked to know from this. Actually, we are under the impression that I'm not able to express. Very often we have a guilty feeling that I'm not able to express well because I don't know English grammar, I don't know good vocabulary, I don't have the habit of reading, various other reasons we cite. But if you just look at the role of non-verbal communication, 93% of non-verbal communication is there. All that you are struggling to express is only to the tune of 7% in your life. So 93% we are already gifted by God. So through your body language, through postures, gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, nodding head, okay, the way you stand, the way you walk, the way you behave, the way you say it, the way you talk, your tone, your accent, okay, your slang, all this matters a lot. So that's why he says that 93% is, of all I can say, communication. Say, for example, through signs and symbols we are able to understand. If you just look at this PPT, you would be able to understand. Yeah, if you just look at this picture, wherein we are able to find two people working here hand in hand, then from this we understand that they are very close to each other. So without saying that there is some kind of relationship, very intimate relationship between two of them, it suggests that proximity, that closeness itself suggests that there is a kind of intimate relationship between these two. So that's how non-verbally you'll be able to communicating quite a lot. So if you just see, yeah, 93% of all communication is non-verbal, out of which 55% is body language, 38% is your voice. That's why very often we say that, her voice is very good. His voice is very masculine. His voice is very clear. His voice is very commanding, we say. So when somebody is able to speak very clearly, okay, we say that his voice is very clear, very audible, very expressive, and all that, because tone, voice is also equally important. So you can express through your voice whether you are angry, whether you are shy, whether you are happy, whether you are unhappy, whether you are worried, whether you have fever, all that could be understood through your voice. When somebody speaks in a very, very low voice, we understand that, why are you dull? He has not actually told anything to us that he was not feeling well. But the way he is speaking, the way he is looking itself shows that, why are you not well? You seem to be very dull. You're not as dynamic as you used to be. So, from the body language itself, he carries a kind of impression on his face, which is a reflection of whether he is fine or not, whether something wrong with him or whether everything is right with him. So, like this, facial expressions, body language, the way he speaks, commanding. Suppose sometime, when you use the word, go and get, don't get it. When you say that, you understand that it's an order. Please get it. Please get it for me. It's a kind of request. So how pleasingly, how pleadingly you are requesting somebody is also very important. Is it only a request or very pleading kind of request, or is it a command? Is it an order? Is it a kind of angry expression? That could be easily understood from the tone and the voice. So that's why, we have to keep this in mind, that this non-verbal communication plays a vital role in communication, I can say, than verbal communication. It doesn't mean that you should not concentrate on learning language, vocabulary, expressions, reading, and all that. But when compared to that, as a gifted person, so we can take care of our body language, so that we can really communicate quite a lot in our daily communication. So sometimes, this non-verbal communication may be visual, as signs and signals. So sometimes, when you are just traveling on the road, there won't be anybody to talk to, there won't be anybody to communicate, but there will be some signboards, there'll be some signals, signboards, and all that, through which actually these signboards are meant, for communicating something, expressing something. So when you just look at a board like this, stop, you understand that there is a need for you to stop. Suddenly you'll find that, slow down, there is a junction, there is a curve. So a kind of warning, a kind of symbol alerts you that there is a curve. Suddenly, you need to drive slowly. Or at some places, you will have signals like, 20 kilometers per hour you have to maintain near hospitals, near schools, or near certain risky, bumpy paths. They just keep signals saying that the speed has to be minimized to only 20 per hour. Like that, you can easily understand from the signboards. If you look at the second signboard, you will understand. See, suppose you are just on the highway. Okay, now as you are going on highway, how long you can go? Suppose you want to go to Nagpur, or you want to go to Mumbai, or you want to go to Chennai. But highway, as you go onto the highway, where to bifurcate? Okay, so suppose after going to some extent, there you will find a signboard in which, if you want to go to Nagpur, take a left side. If you want to go to Mumbai, take a right side. If you want to go to Chennai, go straight. So that will give you an idea that, whichever place you want to go to, accordingly you will take your vehicle. Suppose you say Paris, if you want to go, this is right side, London left side, and Rome straight. So like that, you can easily understand. So like this. And sometimes, you go to some place for to use a restroom, or to use a toilet, but you have a doubt there. A restroom which is meant for women, which is meant for men. So without any indication, it is very risky and very dangerous for us. Sometimes we may just walk into women's restroom. That's why, they just keep the men emblem and women ladies emblem. So from this, you understand. Similarly, you can see here, this is called audio. I mean, this is a kind of visual, picture. You can easily understand from this picture, U-turn. Where you have to take the U-turn, there is a symbol. Where there is no U-turn, again, this kind of symbol we are able to find. So these are all, they give us some wonderful idea about, without anybody's aid, without anybody's help, these things are actually giving us some communication. These are all certain modes of communications: signboards, hoardings, see, for example, even sounds. Different sounds stand for different, occasion. Say, for example, you are somewhere in the office, you are somewhere in your bedroom, but the moment you hear some kind of sound, you think that, okay, suppose a trumpet kind of sound, you are able to hear, then you understand, somebody is celebrating his marriage occasion. And when you just hear some kind of sad kind of music, you understand maybe it is funeral. So like that, alarm sound, ambulance. Sometimes ambulance, the kind of sound, it gives a kind of sound through which you understand that there is an emergency, that you have to really make a way for it. And similarly, fire engine. Whenever fire engine goes, the kind of sound that it maintains is different. Alarm sound is different. And police vehicles, we can see police vehicles, or protocol wise, MPs, MLAs, or ministers, and IAS officers, those who are very busy, and you can easily understand. If you just look at one more picture here, from Masjid, you can just the moment azan is given, you can easily understand it's a time for the prayer. So these are all different ways of communication. Okay, and through symbols. So through sounds, through signals, and through symbols also. So sometimes when you just, I can say a picture is thousand times worth than a word, I can say. So that's why a symbol, let us see the third symbol here is a love symbol. When you just show it to somebody, you don't have to go and propose them directly that I love you. You can just show the symbol to them. Okay, so that's why symbol is actually a mark or a picture. It's developed to convey a peculiar message in a specific way. Symbols are part of civilized man's lifestyle. So when we cannot communicate something orally, we try to take the help of a symbol. So a lion is very, very ferocious, very dignified. That is a kind of dignity kind of symbol. We use it for lion. Sometimes very wild, very cruel, and all that. When you just show the symbol, like I can say parrot, yes, you can easily understand that it is a symbol of peace. Pigeon, a pigeon, a dove is a symbol of peace. So the white pigeon is always a symbol of peace. So rose is a symbol of love. That's why a poet in English language said that my love is like a red rose, he said. So in order to express his love, he said that my love is not only rose, it is a red rose. So if you want to express your love for your country, what do? You will display this national flag on your vehicles. Sometimes you wear it on your shirt. It shows that you are very, very patriotic. So through all this also you can communicate. And now coming to body language, these are all symbols, signals, and audio and all that you have seen. Now through body language. In body language, what are very important things? Facial expressions, postures, gestures, eye contact, and physical appearance. If you just look at facial expressions are very, very important. Facial expressions involve what? Eyes, cheeks, lips, forehead, eyebrows. We communicate through our eyebrows. When you raise your eyebrows, your forehead, through lips, cheeks. Sometimes, when you are shy, your cheeks become red. Okay. And your eyes, when you are angry, when you are shy, when you are happy, all that, you can express through eyes. When somebody is very angry, without saying that, we can, the moment I just get into the class with angry, eyes and face, you can understand that sir is very angry. I have not said that actually I'm angry, but my eyes and face express itself that I'm not comfortable, I'm very angry. So there is one saying, face is the index of the mind. So a person could really express a lot through his mind, through his face. So we can read his face, we can read his mind and heart through his face. That's why all kind of feelings, that's why psychologists say that they're able to find any kind of change that occurs on their face as the feelings change within. Okay, that is very clearly evident on his face. If you can read it, you will understand. So it is very, very difficult for a person to keep a pleasant face when he is not happy with someone. When he is really sharing something bad or unpleasant, or he carried some bad news to share with others, or he has something bad, to hurt somebody, you can't really keep a very pleasing, very pleasant kind of face and express. Naturally, you will show a sad face, that's but very common. So that is one thing. And smile. So on the face, the beauty is smile. So through lips, people are able to smile. If you just look at Mona Lisa's, picture, it is very popular all over the world. It is famous for its smile. Even now, people are not able to understand what does that smile on the lips of Mona Lisa mean. It's very difficult to say. So that's why a smile without deep and real feeling, it looks very plastic. So a smile which is not, uh, you know, deeply out of heart, okay, is, I can say, plastic means does not carry any feeling at all. And sometimes, when you greet somebody, when you look at somebody, whether you like it or not, you try to keep a very formal kind of smile on your face. It is, I can say, there is no life on it. But when you come across a person whom you like so much, when you greet that person, naturally a smile, just spreads on your lips in such a beautiful way, that because it comes from within. So that's why facial expressions play a vital role in one's communication. You can easily understand, especially in dances. Navarasas are there. In Navarasas, you can easily, they just try to express, okay, in different ways. A different posture, different dance communicates a different feeling from within. Maybe it is angry feeling, or some sad feeling, happy feeling, courageous feeling, and all types of feelings they're able to express. So if you just look at the picture also, you can understand when you are angry, or when you are scared, when you are sad, happy, frustrated, anxious, disappointed, calm, kind of expressions keep changing from you. So, in facial expressions, smiling. So, actually, one truth, one fact about face is that the same face is capable of conveying 250,000 expressions. So 250,000 expressions could be shown on our face. I mean, through smiling. So that's a very, very interesting fact to know about it. And smiling actually, is very, very important in social life, through which, our sociability, our likability, and our attraction, and our public relations also, increase quite a lot. Food servers, while who smile more often, earn an increased tip. Suppose, I mean, a man who serves you, a waiter who serves you in a hotel, when he does service with so much of smiling, whatever that you order him, without any vexation, without any irritation on his face, he will simply, with a smile, bring everything to you. He will serve you with more love and affection. Keeping a smile all through, will be able to get more tip than he deserves at the end, because of, I mean, that smile costs nothing, in fact, but it fetches quite a lot at the end of the day. So studies conducted on students caught cheating found that students who smiled were treated with more leniency. And there is a sarcastic smile also, a smile which is beautiful, which is heartful, and there is one more thing that is called sarcastic, which is, I can say, directly opposite to that. That is called sarcastic smile. When you really don't like something, the way you keep a smile, then also you try to maintain a smile. That smile is known as sarcastic smile. So, smile also has its own role in communication. Now, let's come to body postures. The way I told you already, the way you sit. Suppose you go to attend an interview, the way you sit, how do you sit? You have to sit erect. You shouldn't place your hands on the table of the interviewers, I can say. You have to sit straight. You have to keep your you know uh, hands on your thighs, just like this. Sit erect and maintain eye contact with the interviewers. Okay, try to keep your backbone straight. That is very important. If you just sit, just like in the in the picture, you are able to see where red arrow mark is showing. That shows you are very reckless, very careless. You don't have any discipline. You don't have any respect. Suppose you go to some office, before the officer, if you just sit like that, it means that you are going to insult him. You are not paying any respect to him. So that shows, suppose, can you sit like that before your teacher and principal? You can't sit like that. Okay, whenever you want to show discipline, decency, and careful behavior, you should sit erect. And you can see diagram 1 where she is really sitting in a very decent and a very perfect posture. So a posture is a position in which a person stands, sits, walks, nods his head, shrugs his shoulders. Shrugging his shoulder is also very important. Just like carelessly if you shrug your shoulders, it shows that you don't have any respect for what somebody is saying, kind of thing. Like what? What are you trying to say? The way you stand, the way you talk, the way you sit, the way you nod your head, the way you shrug your shoulders, everything matters in communication. That's why body postures are very important. You have to, that is called bearing. You have to conduct yourself in a very decent and in a very disciplined manner. So the other item, very important one, is gestures. What do you mean by gestures? Gestures are nothing but the movement of one's body. Maybe your fingers, hands, your legs, your toes, your head. So the movement of the body altogether, I can say, is called gestures. The way you make signals, the way you make the movement through your hands, your fingers, your legs, and all that matters a lot. That's why you need to be very careful while making gestures, because certain gestures are meant for certain expression, certain communication. When somebody shows like this, it means that it stands for victory. When somebody says that, he says all the best for you. So he didn't say anything. He has just shown like this for you. It means that he is wishing you all the best. He has shown like this. It means that it's a victory. He has won in something. And when he says like this, double victory. When somebody says like this, he is saying that, wonderful, it is excellent, nice. So that's how, you can say. And when you are not, when you feel so ashamed, embarrassed about something, you will try to close your eyes like this, that you can't really show your face to anybody. That's why gestures can be seen as very subtle or not so subtle cues. So, you have to, timely gestures can effectively act upon the behavior of the target group. So, timely gestures are well. Sometimes, you are asking somebody to make a call, you're just showing that. Just like this, when you show, you are trying to tell him, just call me. That's it. I'm busy. Just call me. That's it. So like this, and sometimes you can make vulgar gestures also through your moment of fingers, hands, and all that. You can make vulgar. Suppose when you are seducing somebody, when you are making some sexual kind of signals, you can show through your hands. So now the next item is known as eye expressions, or I can say eye contact. So in the communication, very important thing is eye contact. So many of us are not able to maintain eye contact with the person whom we are interacting or whom we are talking to. Suppose you've gone to an interview, or suppose you are giving a seminar, suppose you are in a group discussion or in a debate. So if you are not able to maintain eye contact with your audience, with your listeners there, it means that you don't have confidence. So maintaining eye contact is a reflection or a symbol of one's confidence. So that's why it is very important to maintain eye contact. Suppose in an interview panel, there are some six men, I mean, six people sitting around, and you are the only one, they're asking you questions. Suppose when somebody asks you a question, okay, while giving an answer to him, you shouldn't maintain eye contact with only the person who asked you. You will have to maintain eye contact with all the six men who are present in that board, because six of them are meant for observing you. That's why they will see whether you are able to maintain eye contact with all the people or not, whether you are comfortable or not, because the way you sit, the way you talk, the way you maintain eye contact itself shows that the answers which you are sharing are from, I mean, correct or not, whether you are confident or not, and all that they'll be observing. That's why eye contact is very, very important in one's communication. But sometimes, in our olden days, we used to feel that if you just look into the eyes of someone, it means that it is a bad symptom. Because yeah, especially when elders are talking to us, we are actually expected to down our eyes and talk to them in a very low, soft voice, because it's just like breaking the rule. So eye contact, especially expanding one's eyes, shrinking one's eyes, half closed. You can just see here different, picture one. When somebody is very confident and she is able to communicate, she is able to maintain eye contact with him. That's why she is very confident. Whereas here, this man has closed his eyes almost because he's very sleepy and very tired. Okay, and a person who has a shock or scared of something, that's why you can just look at his face. And a person who is very shy, very, very humble, sometimes when somebody is hurt, is not able to lift eyes at all, because she is embarrassed and she is feeling so shy. And now, yeah, people are more likely to comply when more eye contact is used. So that is very, very important. Eye contact conveys a sense of sincerity, and eye contact establishes a connection between persons. When you are able to maintain eye contact, that establishes, that develops your relationship. And eye contact with somebody shows one's intimacy also. Sometimes, when you are not intimate, when you are not close to somebody, you can't really look into their eyes. It shows that, very often you are just seeing here and there, you are not able to maintain eye contact with him, that you are not comfortable, or you don't have that much intimacy with that person. You can understand. And eye contact with a group of people reflects one's confidence levels, that I told you already. So now let's come to the other item, that is physical appearance. So in the physical appearance, more attractive people are judged to be happier, more intelligent, friendlier, stronger, and kinder, and are thought to have better personalities, better jobs, and greater martial, marital competence. So this is a data. So now there is one more, that is called proxemics, means distance. So I have already told you that just by observing the distance between people, you can easily guess what kind of relationship could be there. Suppose when a friend and a friend sat on the same bike, when two lovers sat on the same bike, when father and a daughter sat on the same bike, you can easily understand what kind of relationship, because of the distance, because the way they sit, the way they hold a person itself, you can understand. So different cultures have different comfort levels of distance. As children grow older and become less dependent on parents, they require more space. You can understand. Men tend to take up more space than women. And intimacies, if you just see, 0 to 18 inches only distance is there, very intimate. 18 inches to 4 feet, personal relationship is there, 4 to 10 feet social, and 10 feet to infinity public relationship. When a leader is speaking, addressing the gathering, he'll be 10 feet away. But when you are talking to a group, maybe your team, maybe your colleagues, maybe your students, you will maintain 4 to 10 feet. Personally, with your friends and all, just 18 inches to 1 to 2 feet and all that. But when you are too intimate, two lovers, wife and husband, you can easily understand they are so intimate. Now, the other item is known as artifacts. Artifacts means, dress and belongings. Material objects as an extension of oneself. Clothing has the power to influence. You can understand. The way you dress up itself shows that you know what is the occasion. Occasionally, we wear clothes. Suppose you attend a marriage, the way you dress up is different. The way you attend a funeral, when you attend a funeral, the way you dress up is different. When you go for a party, even in the party also, is it a birthday party or engagement party or a wedding party, or in the wedding also, is it wedding or dinner, various occasions, you will just try to have different clothes and different dresses. So that's why clothing is also very important, to influence people. And well-dressed people 77% of the time, poorly dressed people only 38% of the time. So suppose you have lost your phone, in a phone booth. So usually well-dressed people, 77% of the time, okay, you can understand, change left in a phone booth was written to well-dressed people 77% of the time, and poorly dressed people only 38% of the time. You can understand from this. Several studies show that fancy suits, uniforms, and high status clothing are related to higher rates of compliance. And vocals, so I told you, even there is an influence of voice, like your pitch, tone, okay, pauses, volume, tone, and the silence. Suddenly you are silent, it communicates something. A laugh, a loud laugh, medium laugh, a scream, a sigh, okay, and all these communicate quite a lot. Okay, the way you ask somebody, have you seen my book, have you seen my book, have you seen my book? So it all depends upon where you want to stress. If you want to stress on the book, the way you say is different. If you want to stress on my, the way you say the sentence is different. When you stress on you, the way you say the sentence is entirely different. And some studies say that, have found that people who talk louder, faster, and more fluently are more persuasive. They try to persuade a lot. So deep voices, I can say, are often viewed as more credible. The voice, very deep voice is credible voice. Powerless style of communication, like just sometimes, pauses, like tag questions. These are all powerless styles of communication. Now, environment also, what we surround ourselves with also communicates. So when somebody visits your house, the moment you come to know that somebody is going to visit your home, you will just, clean up everything, arrange everything in a very tidy, clean manner and all that, because it communicates what kind of person you are, how decent you are, what are your likes and dislikes, okay, how well groomed you are, what is your culture. It really, reflects it, it really speaks a lot on your behalf. So that's why what we surround ourselves with is, suppose example, the way we decorate our house tells others a lot about us. Environment is often used to influence non-verbally. So several researchers have found that supermarkets strategically place products. The way they place the products, where to place something, they know. Staples such as a dairy, meat, and produce, or in the back or on the opposite sides of the store, in order to force shoppers to meander through aisles where they'll be tempted to buy all kinds of other products. It's all a kind of, temptation. And children's products are usually placed on lower shelves so that a child will pick it up, so that parents will have to buy it. Snack foods which appeal to impulsive buyers are usually placed near checkout areas, so that while going you'll just pick up some while checking out. So functions of nonverbal communication: repeating, substituting, complementing, accenting, and contradicting, and deceiving. These are also very important in communication. And in conclusion, what we try to understand is a knowledge of the several factors involved with nonverbal communication. After having seen all these things, we understand that there is a lot to communicate through our body than our words, vocabulary, grammar, expressions, and all. Okay, and an awareness of its power, will to improve our ability to communicate with others. How to make body language very effective: build a very pleasant personality, observation of one's own body language to regulate it from time to time. You have to check yourself, minding one's walking, standing, sitting, moving, your postures, gestures, expressions, everything. You have to check yourself, how sophisticated you are, how cultured you are, how educated you are, how defined you are, how refined you are. These are all very important at the end of the day. Maintaining pleasant smile and a graceful moments is also very important. Don't be artificial. Be I am what I am. Don't try to be artificial too much. Be yourself. Win-win relation to increase self-confidence. So these are some important things as far as communication is concerned. So from this we can better understand, right? Thank you so much. That's about non-verbal communication.